Good morning and welcome to the Peorian. I'm your host, Paul Gordon. A little over 30 years ago, a singer known as much for his silver hair and beard as for his smooth voice came to Peoria to help the city christen its new crown jewel. Kenny Rogers was the first to perform in the Peoria Civic Center in June 1982. Construction of the Civic Center was followed closely by construction of the Twin Towers across the street, and the look of downtown Peoria was suddenly modern, glassy, and classy, something the city could be proud of. It still is. Oh, much has changed at the Civic Center in the years since because the brains behind it began to realize Peoria could be a good market for larger conventions if it had the space. So the building has twice been expanded, and now it is awaiting other downtown development so it can, it hopes, capitalize on the convention business that wants the type of setting Peoria provides. So how bright is the Civic Center's future? Well, with other jewels now open, namely the new Riverfront Museum and Caterpillar Visitor Center, both of which opened yesterday, October 20th, will downtown soon be more of a destination point? How important will completion of the Pier Marquette Marriott Courtyard project be? Civic Center General Manager Jim Wetherington is my guest today, and we'll talk about that and the upcoming Broadway Theater League series when we come back. Welcome back to the Peorian. My guest today is Jim Wetherington, General Manager of the Peoria Civic Center. Welcome to our show, Jim.
Thank you.
Now, you've been at the Civic Center a long time.
22 and a half years.
22 and a half years. How did you start out? Where did you start?
I needed a job, as we all do at times. I had a history of managing a cleaning company, and they had an opening for a custodial supervisor. Okay. I had been involved with the Take Pride in Peoria Commission, which is now PACE. I knew Harold Hansen. The general manager was Harold Hansen at the time. Got me an interview, I got a job, and I've had 7 jobs in 22 years.
And what was, you were telling me a little earlier, what was the very first event that?
It was the first New Kids on the Block. It was the loudest concert I've ever heard, and the music you couldn't even hear for the girls screaming. So earplugs were required that day, so it was a lot of fun. It gets in your blood, and I stayed, so it must work for me.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And you've been general manager now for?
Year and a half.
Year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. What would you say have been the major points of the Civic Center's history?
Well, of course, its opening. I mean, that was the start of everything to try to keep downtown vital and going and to bring the economic impact that we do to the community. The first expansion we did in '92 helped us to make it be able to do bigger shows. Then when the Pier did their upgrade in '82 to help us to open originally, that was big. The Pier Marquette did a big facelift in the way back. Mm-hmm. Our expansion in '07 was huge for us because of the ballroom and the different things that it brought. It brought our convention space up to a level of over 100,000 square feet, which takes us to a new tier of possibilities for conventions to come to town. We'd hoped for a hotel to be done, as everybody did, and unfortunately the economy slowed things down, but now that project is really coming along well, and we're looking forward to the future.
Okay. There was a time when people wondered if the Civic Center was going to succeed or not.
There was. When I started, we had about a $750,000 operating deficit every year.
Wow.
The company that I work for, I started as a city employee in January of 1990, and September 1 of 1990, a company called Spectacor Management Group, which is now SMG, came in. They provide private management for public facilities. They've got 240 different contracts throughout the world.
Now. Okay.
Yeah, they do Soldier Field. They just got McCormick Place. They just got the Pier. They do Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the Superdome, Three Rivers Stadium, Toledo, Ohio, Topeka, Kansas. It's all over the place. So it's a great company. It's a great resource for us. If you have an event or a show or a convention that you need some help or questions, you've got lots of people to reach out to.
Was bringing in Spectacor, now called SMG, was that what helped Civic Center turn the corner?
It did, because there were efficiencies through experience that they brought to the table. They revamped the entire management team when they came in. It had to be done because the dollars weren't there. It's business, and the things that they brought to the contacts for concerts, contacts for conventions, the different shows that they could help you get, it helped as well too. And there's so many things that we do now, especially in operations, that are saving us lots of money in utilities and in repairs and maintenance costs that come directly through corporate. And there's white papers and there's procedures and there's just so many things that are helping to make things better on the bottom line.
Do you think, have there been times where you thought when they first built this place, that they should have done things differently? I ask that because already it's been expanded twice. Mm-hmm. People have long said, well, the arena should have had more seats from the start. Sure. The theater should have had the center aisle. Right. Mm-hmm. What do you think about those things?
In the position I'm in now, in the work I did with the construction, I was the owner's rep more or less for the construction when we expanded. It helped me to understand what it takes to make major changes and the dollars that it takes to do that. I sat in value engineering sessions when the price came in several million over what our budget was. And we had to take our dreams and our hopes and things and carve them down. And that's kind of why the arcade is what it is, because it was bid out last when they built it, and they didn't have the funds to make it different. The theater was actually designed as a 3-story, but the funds weren't there, so they made it 2, and that's when the center aisle came out so they could keep the number of seats, because you needed to be over 2,000 seats to fit the model that we were going for. My understanding, I wasn't here, but that's the stories that are told by those that were. I think what they did was a phenomenal feat to get done for a community of our size, and to be able to keep it running, vibrant, clean. We've got thousands of items we'd like to upgrade, but the dollars aren't there. So it's a real juggling game to try to keep it up and to try to keep it going. So
it is still Peoria's crown jewel.
You bet it is. You bet it is.
Okay. Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the other new downtown developments will mean to the Civic Center in the near and long-term future. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Peorian. I'm with Jim Wetherington, General Manager of the Peoria Civic Center, and we're talking about the center's history and, of course, its future. Jim, without the Civic Center, would the other developments downtown and in the whole region, including the new museum and the Caterpillar Visitor Center, would they have even happened, do you think?
I don't see how. We're going to feed off each other, I guess would be the way to describe it. We'll bring people to town to go to them, and they'll bring people to town that'll come to us. So
but the Civic Center is still the catalyst, though, don't you think?
I think so, but I'm not going to take anything away from those two great projects because they're standalones if they need be, but it will create a synergy that the community's never seen before.
People are saying that is the reason, the new museum and Cat Visitor Center, that if the warehouse district works, that's why. But as you said, synergy, it all goes together.
And you got the ball diamond and I mean, everything that goes with it. You know, we're all hoping for some more retail downtown, and I think the warehouse district will help to drive that because you have to have people that live close enough to be able to utilize it. And you need folks there more than just till 5 o'clock and go home. So. The museum's going to be open later. The Cat Center's going to be open later. The new Marriott project is going to be a jewel as well too. I've had a quick tour of some of the rooms. They're phenomenal. Seen a lot of the drawings and everything looks great. And I talked to their guy today. They're on schedule and it's rocking and rolling.
On schedule for when?
For when they get done.
Are they going to make the March 1st?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
If I were a betting
political
man,
answer
if
there.
I were a betting man.
Of all those new things, though, everything that we've talked about with the synergy and everything, I mean, think about how the riverfront has grown, or the activities and everything in the last 15 years.
Yep.
The Pier Marquette Marriott Courtyard project is still the most important to the Civic Center. Isn't that true?
I would say so.
And the reason is?
Conventions. The people of the community don't really see the impact of what those folks bring to town. We have the Illinois Library Convention in right now. There's going to be hundreds of people filling all the rooms, all the restaurants, but people don't know that in the community. The economic impact to our community is paramount to its existence. The taxes that they bring, the jobs that they create. I have over 600 employees. Okay, 45 full-time, the rest are part-time, but that's a lot of part-time work for a lot of people. That's not just conventions. Some of that's, IATSE, the stagehands that do the shows in the theater and in the arena as well too. But still, it's a driver for a lot of folks in the community.
The fact that it's going to be connected through the skywalk to the Civic Center makes it a true convention hotel? It
does. Not many people today will go to a convention where they have to walk outside to go to the hall. If you're out there and that happens, it's very, very rare. The norm is to have a connected property. So we're just getting there. We've needed it for a long time. We did a study in 2002 where they said it's important that you get this done, and it's just taken a while to get there. But we're awfully glad it's happening.
We talked hindsight a little in the first segment. Does hindsight say they should have thought of this 30 years ago?
They did.
And?
It didn't happen. I don't know.
Do you know why?
I wasn't there. Lots of people talked about, I heard there was one study that talked about connecting the 3 hotels downtown.
Oh, really?
To the Civic Center. Yeah, it's just a lot of money.
Yeah.
Connect the Mark Twain and the 4 Point Sheraton and the pier to the Civic Center, and you go to Grand Rapids, there's 5 properties, I think, connected to the arena and the convention center and in between through a 5-block area.
Okay, we've established now that the Pier Marquette's the most important project, but with everything else going on, and again, you use the word synergy, not me, all of it makes Peoria more attractive to convention planners?
Yes, it does. You've got more to do. You've got more to offer. It's within walking distance. Wildlife Prairie Park's a wonderful draw, but you got to bus them there. So that's not quite as unique. They'll still use it. We have many conventions that go down to see the Lincoln sites because they're out-of-state people. They come in. So it's not just Peoria that reaps the benefits from it as well too. And it's East Peoria and the surrounding neighborhoods. Okay.
We're going to take a break now for messages, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the soon-to-open 2012-2013 Broadway Theater League series. But first, here's our own Kevin Kaiser to talk about books and what he's been reading lately.
Hey, this week it's a brand new segment called You Think You're Funny? Where I take a look at books of a comedic nature. First off, it's America, You Sexy Bitch, a love letter to freedom by the unlikely duo of Michael Ian Black and Meghan McCain. I say unlikely because comedian and actor Michael Ian Black is an unabashed East Coast liberal progressive, while Meghan McCain is a dyed-in-the-wool modern conservative. During the summer of 2011, the two set off on a cross-country tour of America, using themselves as guinea pigs to make connections between points of view that are becoming more and more divergent. They both have a love for the road, which for McCain came from traveling as a young girl with her father, and for Black from traveling as a 19-year-old playing Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Along the way, they met politicians, gun lovers, gay parents, flag burners, Muslims, poker players, Tea Partiers, Minutemen, veterans, teen moms, bikers, fast food workers, and a handful of hookers. That, my friend, is what you call a melting pot. The result is a rollicking book told in 2-part harmony as the narrative bounces back and forth between McCain and Black. Perfect if you want to read words and then laugh after reading them. Speaking of, a brand new book from America's favorite fake newsman, Stephen Colbert, is on the shelves. This one is entitled America Again, Rebecoming the Greatness We Never Weren't. In this book, Colbert declares that America is broken and we can't exchange it because we're 236 years past the 30-day return window. But luckily and single-bookedly, Colbert is here to pull us back from the brink and restore this country to the greatness it never lost. Colbert covers a wide range of subjects like China, the economy, food and healthcare, where he shudders to think where we would be without our think-shuddering medication. And now, for something completely different. John Cleese of Monty Python fame has just signed on with Crown Archetype imprint of Random House to write his memoir. Cleese, who's now 72, said it's the perfect moment to look back on his life in anticipation of his next 50 years. Speaking of Python, another less living alumnus, Graham Chapman, has had his autobiography turned into a film. A Liar's Autobiography, the untrue story of Monty Python's Graham Chapman, has been made into a glorious 3D animated featured film, featuring the voice of Chapman himself along with fellow Pythonites, Pythoners, I don't know, Terry Jones, Michael Palin, Terry Gilliam, and the aforementioned Cleese. The movie will hit select U.S. theaters in November. Well, that does it for this brand new segment called Think You're Funny? Tune in next week where Actually, I'm not sure what I'll be doing next week. I really didn't know I was doing this week until about 30 minutes ago. Honestly, I'm a bit drunk. See you next week.
Welcome back to the Peorian. I'm talking with Jim Wetherington, General Manager of the Peoria Civic Center. Jim, since its opening, the Civic Center has been able to get some top-notch Broadway shows in the theater.
Yes, we have.
This year's no exception, is it?
That's correct. We're headlining with Jersey Boys in the spring. We have 2 weeks, so I believe it's 16 shows, 8 per week.
Wow.
And then Mary Poppins is at the end of this month. It starts October 30th. We have a week of Mary Poppins. Both are Broadway shows, equity folks. I mean, it's top of the line entertainment.
Now, Mary Poppins, because of the technical aspects of it, is it on a par with Wicked?
Not quite as many special effects as Wicked had, but you've still got people flying through the air. So it's there's a group called Flying by Foy that does most of the flying in the world, and they're professionals at it. They can fly just about anything you want. So it's a lot of fun to watch how they do that. We could fly you if you want to come in.
No, that's
I'm
fine.
just saying.
That's fine. I'm glad you think it'd hold me.
It would.
Oh, okay. Have you been hearing around town? Are people getting excited about this season?
They are. We increased the number of shows we did last year. We had 7, and the capacity was there for more. So we've tried to spread them out because dollars are limited in today's world. So we're not on top of each other. We got Rock of Ages on the 18th, which is a different crowd than Mary Poppins. But Rock of Ages is a one-night show that we're doing. We had it last year early. And we did 2 shows, but we brought it back because it sold well and people really liked it, and it's a repeat kind of a show. So,
Okay.
But the sales for Mary Poppins are very strong. There's still plenty of seats left, but it's a marvelous show. It's a treat, really, to see something like this in Peoria. We had Phantom in 2002, and that really kicked up. We used to do 2, maybe 3, 4 shows a year, and last year we did the 7 with 3 weeks of Wicked. And this year we're doing 12 with 2 weeks of Jersey Boys and 1 week of Mary Poppins. So that's a lot of people coming to town. We've done a map that shows how far regionally we're drawing people to buy tickets. You'd be surprised how many people are coming past Springfield, up to Rockford, past Bloomington, over to Macomb, Quincy, St. Louis area to come up to see shows. And when they come that far, they stay and they spend money.
Well, sure. I mean, Cedar Rapids are not going to come and turn around and drive back there.
And there's like a couple hundred people came to see a show from Cedar Rapids.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's amazing the draw that it is for the community.
You didn't find that 3 weeks Wicked was too much?
We sold 94% of the tickets.
No kidding.
And that's with an opening that was about 85, 87. So after the first couple of days, it just went, and it was just an amazing. We'd hoped to sell 90. That was our goal.
Well, did it worry you when it started out a little?
Yes, but as I told you before we started, our year ended August 31st, and partially because of the success of Wicked, we broke even on our budget for the first time since 07, when the economy went in the basket in 08. So very proud of that.
The Broadway series actually opens with Hal Holbrook as...
Actually, the Broadway series opened with the Symphony 2 weeks ago. That was our first show. We collaborated with the Symphony to do shows, numbers from our shows. So most of their numbers were earmarked. They came from our shows to highlight the season. They brought in the original Mary Poppins, and several of our local friends that have done shows sang with her, and nothing but raves. And these are people that know what they're talking about, and they really thought she was phenomenal. So it was a great marriage with the Symphony to help us kick it off. Rock of Ages on the 18th is another show that is part of our series, and then Mary Poppins. So we kicked off the series a couple weeks ago.
Now, I am curious, so how are sales going for Hal Holbrook?
Good. Very good. Yeah, he's not sold out. There's lots of good seats, and our theater doesn't have a bad seat in it. So.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And he is entertaining as he can possibly be. He brings Mark Twain to today's world. A lot of the things Mark Twain says, he relates to today's political satire, and it's quite entertaining. And he's somebody you need to see once in your life.
When you are planning a season, you actually go to New York and meet with the top dogs, right?
Well, I did this year.
Okay. Well, somebody from Civic
Somebody
Center.
from the Civic Center travels to New York. We usually spend 5 or 6 days. This year we only got 3 because of schedules, but losing our dear friend Mark Burnett kind of put a damper on our time schedule. But we miss him, and he did a great job putting things together for 12 years. So he had relationships that he had established and doors that he could open, and he just did a masterful job taking care of all this. So we had a trip scheduled with him, but unfortunately it didn't come to that. So Debbie Richard went with us. She still had a lot of contacts from her years in the business. And we met 7 meetings in 42 hours with different people. To try to get the relationships built back up, and we're very excited about the shows that we're coming.
Okay. I hope you've enjoyed today's program and are supporting the Civic Center and all that it brings to our area. Remember that you can see this and other episodes of The Peorian on our website, thepeorian.com. And tune in for another episode next Sunday at 8 a.m. on WHOI TV and on our website. Jim, thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir. Have a great week.
Have a good week.
Música